thanks so much for chatting with me today for Virtual Millions Missing. Let's kick off. Can you introduce yourself and describe a bit about what your role is in Millions Missing and where you do it in the country?
Yeah, of course. Thank you ever so much for having me. So I'm based in Leeds city centre. My name is Charlie Wainwright and I headed up Leeds Millions Missing in 2019, and my Leeds activism hasn't really stopped since then. So I was diagnosed with ME when I was just 11 years old. So I'm 24 now, so I've actually been diagnosed for over half my life. And I dedicate as much time as I can to increasing ME activism in Leeds and fighting for all of us here with the disease.
That's great. So I guess that already gives us a bit of my question of the why, but I wanted to ask, how did you get involved with Millions Missing and find out about it?
So back in 2018, I attended my first ever Millions Missing event. I'm originally from the Midlands, so I went all the way back home and went to Birmingham's 2018 Millions Missing event, and I had never before met anybody else with my disease. I'd never stood next to somebody else who had their own stories of living with ME, and to stand there and see hundreds of shoes, hundreds of people and all these bright red t-shirts, I was just so overwhelmed. And then the very next day I made my dad drive me all the way up to Manchester and go to another Millions Missing event with me, and we both stood there in the city centre, absolutely cried our eyes out, and it was such a bonding moment for us that I thought, actually, I'm seeing all these people fighting for the disease that I have. Why can't I do the same? And from that moment on, I thought I want to be more proactive in my ME activism, and I want to fight for not only my health, but for other people's health too. And that's where the idea came from of, why am I traveling to different cities to celebrate Millions Missing? Why am I not hosting it in the city that I've lived in for 5 or 6 years? And that's exactly what I did the year after.
That's incredible. And I totally empathise with you as well. I don't think I've never made it through Millions Missing without sobbing. It's such an emotional day and time being in that space. So I can picture you and your dad doing that too. So when you think back to that Millions Missing in Leeds in 2019, what are there any moments that kind of stand out to you that really illustrate what Millions Missing is all about?
Yeah, definitely. For me personally, I think a lot of people have felt the same, whereas when I was first diagnosed, and for a good probably 10 years, I did not want anybody to know that I had ME. I lived in a house of 6 other people at university, and it was very much a need to know basis. So not even everybody I lived with was aware of why I was taking tablets every day, and why some days I couldn't get out of bed, and why sometimes there was ambulances. And they didn't understand that. But I became to a point where, after going to the Millions Missing in Manchester, I thought, why am I hiding this? Why am I ashamed of a disease that sometimes means I can't walk? So for me, standing there right at the start of Leeds 2019 event, the very first event in Leeds city centre for Millions Missing, I looked out and there was friends and family, but there's also complete strangers, and everybody had that same kind of look of emotion on their face of, we know why we're here today. And I have never before struggled so much to put 2 words together, and I was a bubbling mess. And for me, I've never felt that way. And it was incredible to know, actually, we are fighting for something so important. And then throughout the day in Leeds in 2019, you were seeing people come up and share their stories. You were seeing people come over and put shoes on the floor with their own stories on. And I thought, it's taken so much courage for me to stand here and share my story, and it's taken so much courage for them too. But together we're so much stronger. And to be able to do that right on your doorstep, it's incredible.
It is, and those stories, I think that's something we all recognise as part of Millions Missing being such a powerful part of what people do. What is one of your personal highlights from Millions Missing?
One of my personal highlights would be seeing other people have the strength to stand up and share their most vulnerable part of themselves. And you can see people when they stand up in front of strangers sharing what they've been through, how scared they are, but nothing is more scary than being as poorly as we can be. So for them to be able to do that and share their truth and how poorly they really are, you know, you look at these people and they don't look that poorly. You look at me and I don't look really poorly. But on Millions Missing, to see everybody join together, and you don't need to persuade somebody how poorly you can be. It's such a unifying thing to do, and I really can't wait for the next Millions Missing event when we can all stand together. But for now, it'll be lots of Zoom meetings and social media hashtags, and that's enough. Just knowing that other people are there and other people want the same things as you.
Definitely. And I think that's something we know that our community is really good at, gathering online and making things happen in virtual spaces when we have to, because we can't always, even outside of a pandemic, be together in that way. I was wondering, what do you think Millions Missing achieves?
I think Millions Missing achieves two things. I think our disease often doesn't get much press coverage, but for one day a year, we are in the papers, we're on the TV, and all you can see is these bright red tops. And if you don't know what the bright red tops are about, then you're going, why are they all wearing that colour? Why do they all look like that? And, you know, the coverage that we do get often isn't great. So to be able to have all these stories shared across local newspapers, across social media and on TV, that's just fantastic. But not only the press side of it, the personal side of it as well. And, you know, having people turn up to these events and they drag along their family and friends, and slowly they're going, actually, I understand a little bit more about ME. Sometimes having your family or friend stand there and see other people talking about the exact same things that you've been going through, it helps to them explain a little bit more about what's going on. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that happen in person, sort of looks of realization dawning on people's faces. What are your hopes for Millions Missing in the future?
I really hope in the future that we can, one, meet in person again. I'd really like to, you know, listen to people's stories in person, to be able to hug people and say, well done, or I'm here for you. I want to see dogs in Millions Missing t-shirts. I want to see banners across city centres. I want it to be so overwhelming again, because I think in the past year alone, we are constantly striving forward, and we are getting somewhere, and we're actually gaining momentum as well. And by the end of this year, the NICE guidelines will have changed. And that in itself is so exciting, and without campaigns such as Millions Missing, I really don't think that would be possible. And at the end of the day, no one is going to fight for our health better than us. So for one day a year, we should join together, fight as much as we can, and at the end of the day, we'll probably also have a lot more friends with ME too. So it's a fantastic day, and I can't wait for it to be back in person.
I couldn't agree more. I think been saying that, just talking about it all and reliving all those memories is definitely making me feel quite nostalgic for that, but I'm confident that we'll get there. Great, thanks so much for joining me today, Charlie, and for chatting with me about all the amazing stuff that you've done for Millions Missing and made it happen in Leeds, and we hope you have a great one this year.
Thank you ever so much.